Hey guys, welcome. I hope that everybody is having a great Friday. Wanted to welcome you all to Work Week Wind Down. We made it. It's Friday, and the Super Bowl is Sunday. Not sure who you're rooting for, but hopefully your team wins. So today we are out on a field trip, a road trip. So we are out in the Huntersville area having a sit down discussion with some of my colleagues at Costello Real Estate and Investments and Chris Beard with Dior Horton. So I wanted to step out and not, disrupt them, but I'm going to walk you guys in so that you can be a part of the conversation. He's going to talk about, how they love to work with realtors because it helps them with the process of making all the transactions run as smoothly as possible. He's also going to talk about all the different plans that they have available, some of the new communities that they're working on that will be opening up. Again, today we are out here in Huntersville. The specific community that we're in just sold out, but they do have another one that's coming. So just hang tight. We also have the construction manager is going to sit down and chat with us as well. So I'm going to pull my mask back up and join the group, but come on and join me for some great information. All right, I hope you guys have a great weekend.
If you look, we are going out. So back to that education point, you got to educate your buyer. Here's what you can buy in town. Here's how small it's going to be or how old it's going to be. Here's what you can get by going out. And that's just a huge part. And we were very also trained. I have to say this often to clients. I'm not a loan officer, but we can run numbers till the cows come home because people want to know what the money's going to buy them. We do have a preferred lender, as Karen mentioned, and there's different loan officers, just like there's different new home reps, right? Education level, the experience level is different. We know that it makes the process easier if they use our lender. Lately, we've been doing $10,000 in closing costs. We've been doing a below market interest rate. We're probably averaging 80 or 90% people using our lender because they got a ton of tools to use. You would almost be, why would you use the outside lender unless it's, Now, on occasion, it's not so common, but hey, we're Karen, it did happen. They go to our lender, DHI Mortgage, they make the application, they're doing everything we ask, and they just can't get approved for whatever reason. We try to look at plan B, plan C. At the end of the day, we just can't get them approved. Then we're going to go to management and say, hey, we're in the home selling business. We're not necessarily in the mortgage business. It's a side business for us. So we would ask in that particular example if we could make an exception, and it just is case by case is what I'd say there.
Yeah, because we had a couple that I even told the one, Chris, I said, don't worry about it, you're good. Because she was already pre-approved with our preferred lender, so I knew she was good. But DHI,
Yes.
they said no. So I told her, don't worry about it. And they ended up giving her some closing costs too. But I don't know if they're still doing that anymore.
It varies. Typically, I would say, as opposed to 10,000, it's usually about 2,000 to an outside lender, but it's still case by case.
Okay.
We do VA, we do USD, we do FHA, we do all the loans. I mean, but it is case by case, and I've learned way too much about lending lately. But hey, that's all right. It's education, and it's great to sit down in front of a client and be like, your payment is $2,200 or it's $1,900, and then case it with, hey, look, talk to a lender, please get pre-approved, that kind of thing. So as we go out, so we're most known for, and even my 4 years here for building inventory. We also like to educate clients, look, we can't change a lot of things because that whole supply thing is still real for us. It helps us to build the house and close it, so we want to keep it going in a seamless timeline. So we're not as accommodating when changes. That's not so we won't change things. If the house is just coming out of the ground, we absolutely will consider that. But it's usually flooring, minor changes, nothing like, hey, I want to put a screen-in porch in the back. That you could do later, for sure. But if you look at like a train leaving the station, we often would describe it as inventory. Once it starts, it's running down the tracks just as fast as it can go. We don't like to try to stop it to let changes happen because it slows the train down, essentially. But know for your selling interest, the benefit, and this is huge for people to commit to houses. They touch it, feel it, and it's $2,200 a month. I want to close on it. So for you getting people to commit to a house, it's 9 times easier than a house. It's like this piece of dirt you can see yourself grilling and barbecuing. That's a hard thing for people to picture. And they can, life changes fast these days. That's like 9 months down the road. We're building these houses that can close in 30 to 60 days. We probably got 50 homes in the greater Charlotte market that can close in 30 to 60 days. And they will be eligible for a 4.99% rate, which is about 1% below the market. So there's definitely a lot of tools in the toolkit to help you guys sell homes. We want to be a partnership in that, and that's how we like to roll for sure. What questions might that generate?
So I do have a question.
Please.
So you gave an example of one of your clients who was approved somewhere else but couldn't get approved through
DHI mortgage. Yep.
So is DHI mortgage more difficult then? Does that mean the standards are different?
It's a good question. It varies, I would say. Sometimes I would say they are a little more conservative. You and I both know this, being in the business. Some lenders are better than others. I'm not going to say some of my loan officers are better than others. I'm not going there. But sometimes there has to be a hunger to get the deal done. And I've learned that through being in challenging lending environments where you definitely have to have someone who's very savvy in the finance. And you probably know that better than me. And it's impressive to me to see someone who works like that, because I'm like you. You put the numbers in the computer, it's yes, direct underwriting approved, or no. But it's not that easy. It's just not.
The reason why I told Chris not to worry is because I won't name names, but the same girl who was doing Chris's loan did our loan. And
She got hers done.
she got ours done. But let me tell you, we sold our house. We were in the middle of Hilton Head, and she calls us up and says, I don't think we're going to be able to do this. And I was like, she was like, this was a Friday, and she said, I'll call you on Monday. I'm like, no, ma'am. You will let us know today because we don't have a house, and I have to find my family a house today if you can't get this done. She called us back and said she could do it. But when that's who they were using at that time. But did we have somebody else that was somebody, or was she the one that was doing every one of ours?
She was for a time. Remember, she was.
She's still there.
She is.
But anyway, her name is Melissa.
Yeah, right.
Yes.
I didn't give her a name, and I don't give her this.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
So you get Melissa from DHI, come talk to me. But no, I mean, he's right. I mean, there's some lenders who only want slam dunks, and there's some lenders who not willing to work for a business, and there's some, and this is the reason why we do have our preferred lenders too, because we know, we work with them, we trust them, we can ask them questions and stuff.
And we also know that sometimes you guys would have a marketing relationship with a lender. That's always tough because you spent money, they brought you leads, and now you come in here and I'm over here like, you got to use DHI, got to use DHI. At the end of the day, they're not required to use DHI. That's a fact, right? And so that's something to be aware of. Speaking in that same line of thinking, what are we required? We're less than most builders out there. $5,000 if the house is under $400,000 is all we require a deposit. We want a pre-qual and $5,000 check. We can do online payment. We try to make it very, very simple, right? And then in 30 days, 21 days, we want a conditional loan approval. If we can't get a conditional loan approval by our lender or maybe an outside lender, we say, here's your $5,000 back. We appreciate you coming by. We'll try to figure out how to get you approved in the future. And that part is very easy. If you go over $400,000, it's $10,000. I know builders who want $30,000 and $40,000 to contract, and we're not that builder. So we made that part also very, very easy. The builder contract for y'all, have y'all sold a lot of new construction? I know she has. Yes, no? It's, and I tell everybody this, the builder contract is worded strongly towards us because we're a litigious society. It's just the way it is. But I do point out the pain points for the client and for you as a realtor representing them. And then I also try to point out, here's where it's protecting you. Here's that financial contingency is a protection to your client. So there are points in there, but it's also good to definitely read through that contract. And even if this is a good example, you get a very conservative buyer, they come in, they really, really want to buy, but you're like, I'm just nervous to get, whatever, because we're trained to close the sale. We are trained, and I will reiterate that point, because that's what we do. And I'm very good at it, my colleagues are good at it, but we don't want people to buy something they're not interested in buying, right? So at the end of the day, hey, look, I tell you what, I'm going to PDF, I'm going to send you a draft of the contract. You read it over tonight, you let me know if there's any questions, and we can get together tomorrow and sign the contract. That gives people a little bit of a breath. It's definitely a way to get over that nervousness, the second guessing, buyer's remorse type feeling. But those contracts, they are ironclad, and they definitely are something to be. When you're sitting down, you want to be very astute, and you probably know it as well. That court of law, man, this is very black and white, as they say.
Yeah, and the one thing that helps, most builder contracts are based towards helping the builder, not the buyer. And there's a clause in there, they have 2 years to build that house. So if you're looking at raw land, or not raw land, but if you're looking at a lot, and you're like, okay, I wanna do that lot right there, they technically could take 2 years to build that house out. And if you've got somebody who wants to be moved in 9 months, even though Chris says, it's our intention to have this done in 9 months, if there's supply chain issues and if they have 2 years. So make sure that, and Chris will point it out, but also make sure that you're setting that expectation with your buyers that, this could take 2 years.
That's specifically with D.R. Horton, or?
That's what most every builder, every kind.
Yes.
And then what will interest rates be? What will this be? I mean, there's a lot of questions that come with that. And it's delicate. I guarantee if you go ask every new home sales, they will give you some estimates, because that's what we're trained to do, because we're pretty good at scheduling. We're very good at these, but we're relying on county inspections. We don't pay them to come inspect. They're paid outside of us. There's things that are totally out of our control. That's why a lot of that is in there for sure.
And you're having an issue right now with the townhouses.
Correct.
So, and that's, you said how long? 4 months maybe?
It's probably, in speaking to someone more educated than myself, probably more like 6, 7 months. Yeah.
Okay.
So everything takes longer. I mean, that's another food for thought education piece to the consumer out there. It's just like everything takes a little longer now than it used to. But on average, we're probably, and maybe let Brian speak to this, maybe 6 months from start to finish. And then we have these stages. It's a whole other detailed level on where you buy a house, your client, I should say, and then kind of talking to that. So
The good thing is that they have inventory ready to go, or like you said, that'll be ready in 30 to 60 days, and it'll be brand new. No, you don't get to pick out what color your granite is or whatever, but they have people, designers, who are putting these things together. They're not just asking anybody off the street, hey, can you go build this house out for us? I mean, these are designers, so they're gonna put it together. They need to make it to where a buyer's gonna come in and love it anyway. So they're putting together nice packages.
they really are. Any questions on the contract? That's a very exciting part of my mind. Okay. Yeah.
So speaking on the contract, you said that it's pretty ironclad. I know it's geared more towards the builder than the consumer. Are there ever any situations where you guys have made
Yes.
like okay?
I don't want to admit to it, but yeah, I mean,
Okay.
life happens, right? I mean, it comes down to the agent going to the manager, and a sad case would be somebody. There's a couple, maybe one of them passes away, something like that. Loss of job would be another one.
Mhm.
There's definitely things that happen that we have to react case by case. We love to be consistent. I mean, interest rate change every day. It sounds terrible to say that, but some of that does change too with regards to how we're reacting to certain things.
And do you guys work with Ribbon? I can't remember.
We don't
Is it
really have
because-
any affiliation. We have a bunch of resources, Ribbon, Open Door, Marketplace is another one you haven't even heard of. We just don't do it a whole lot from my experience. I don't, to help people who are trying to move up from a house you're speaking of.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So they're basically using their capital
Correct.
to purchase the home.
Right.
But if I'm not mistaken, I recall someone saying that because the way the contract is written, they have their own contract, and then you guys have your own. I'm assuming that you won't budge
Not
or
so
make
much.
any alterations to your contract.
No. We often say this is a little bit of a joke, but a lawyer comes in about one of our houses, we're like, we don't sell to lawyers. They're like, what do you mean? Because they're trying to redline the
Yeah.
contract. We're like, we don't redline anything.
Yeah.
And it is very much the case. We don't alter it much at all.
I'd say last year it was less than 5% of our houses were really in the marketplace. a very small percentage, but like prior to COVID, I mean, I'd say probably 40% of my community was that.
Yeah.
It's just people were selling in a different state, moving to our state, and we're seeing it a little bit more frequently, but it's kind of slowed down a lot.
Yeah.
But it also makes the underwriting, it makes everything a lot more complicated for everybody. It's just like, especially in a market like COVID was, where, I mean, you had so many people moving to the Charlotte market, it was easier to take the next person that didn't have everything attached than it was to take that person.
Yeah.
Jump groups.
Now that some of these homes that are gonna be ready in the next 30 to 60 days, would the contract be different since it's already like postponed? It's no longer.
It's a very good question. So everybody signs the same boilerplate contract, but it could be for one that can close in 2 weeks. It could be for one that's just coming out of the ground. But so it's a kind of speaking to all the phases of the construction, but it's the same contract. But closing date, tying to that same question, if the house is complete, stage 12 is what we call that complete. It really is just the timing for the loan, the mortgage, which we would say 30 to 25 to 30 days. I mean, I've closed some VA mortgages in the last 2 months in less than 25 days, which is really uncommon for me. And that was through DHI, so I was very impressed because a VA loan typically has a longer gestation cycle, if you will. So that's how that works. But on say somebody buys it at stage 2, and we're going along, we're giving the weekly updates, which we're pretty much committed to do to the client. Hey, this week we got this done. This week we didn't get much done, whatever that looks like. And then we get about 2 to maybe 3 weeks out is when we say, here's the email, the closing letter out. Yeah, I wish it was longer to give people a chance to plan and all that, but it's still about 3 weeks out, and it's hard. And it's really probably the primary reason, Brian may speak to this too, is we don't want to schedule it. Oh, now we're moving today. We'll move one more day and then reschedule it because it causes so much discombobulation between the lender, the builder, and the client, and the realtor, et cetera.
I was thinking more on the lending side of it, because
Sure.
since the house is already built, there's nothing, you know, it should be like a regular process, you know, get a financing approval, get an appraiser in here.
Right.
And that, and just last week I was at an NAREP rally and I had, and Bank of America was speaking, Fred Mack was there speaking, and they spoke about all these programs that are coming out now, 100% finance, a whole bunch of down payment, closing cost assistance. So I want to make sure that the house would qualify for something like that. I guess in a way it does sound like it would qualify.
Yeah, it would be doing some due diligence, but it should, yes, for sure. And that's a common question too we get from folks, agents who don't sell a lot of new construction, sell resale used homes, we call them. And that's fine. So they say, was this on our contract or your contract? They're just not familiar, right? And it's always on our contract, 100%, pretty much.
Yeah, and a lot of times, especially with the newer programs or VA and stuff like that, it's important for the builder to know because sometimes there's hoops that we have to jump through in order to get that person.
Yes.
Like VA, the house has to be complete so many weeks before the actual closing. There's another one that's really weird where, like, I mean, they want every blade of grass standing up.
Yes, have the yard
before they close
established.
the house. So, you know, there's some nuances to each loan process that can affect it.
I may bring Brian in for a little bit of construction 101, if that's good for you, good timing.
Now, Chris disappointed me because we were supposed to go and tour a house, but because
Safety
of
concerns.
safety concerns.
I worry about you guys a little bit.
And mud.
And mud.
He
Don't you
said-
take any free dirt with you.
Yeah. He said he's just gonna bring him over and talk to us. We can look at it. We can look at it from the outside.
So how many floor plans are there?
So there's a whole gambit. So where I'll be heading to, I'm in York, South Carolina now, which a lot of people don't have South Carolina licenses. I'll be heading to the vineyards, which will be similar product to what you see here. I think we'll have 7 different floor plans from.
This one.
In this one, I think you probably know there's six floor plans, maybe. 5 or 6.
Well, technically there's 13, but
If you're taking the elevations.
yeah. Well, no, not including them, but elevations. But we sell 2 different series.
Yes.
Right, you got the Hampshires, the Fleetwoods, the Woodrows, and then you've got the Princess series, the Isabellas, the Jasmines, and all that kind of stuff.
Yes.
It just depends on the area of the neighborhood, how big the lots are, and all that. So totals, D.R. Horton has about 65 different floor plans. We use those in various capacities, but the Hampshire, the Azalea, Washington, Isabella's, those are by far our most common builds as far as the Horton product, Express product. You see a lot of Haydens, Columbias. Wilmington.
Yes.
And so you'll see a lot of different things as far as that stuff goes. So as far as construction, when you guys sell with us, probably the first thing is after that sale happens, after everything's ratified and we're ready to go. Sales and construction does a meeting every week, and that's in different aspects. It can be a phone call, it can be the guy walking into the office and them asking questions, but our goal is construction gives sales an update on every house every single week, and then one way or another that gets communicated to the customer. Now we use a mass communication tool that allows us to basically spreadsheet every house, type in all the notes for every house, and then whether it's construction or sales, they send it out with a template. And these templates, it's kind of the A to Z's of having a new home. You know, if we were to put a book together and hand it to a customer and say, this is your new home, warranty, just understanding what construction is, that's what we're trying to send out. So we're talking about framing, we're talking about concrete, we're talking about the appliances in the house, the HVAC system. Like, we're really just trying to educate our buyers. Some of our buyers, they're on their 12th house. Some of our buyers, they're on their first house. But we can't assume that every house acts the same, but there are nuances within the construction industry. And so we try to educate with those templates and speaking with our customers. But once that sale happens, there should be a handoff between sales and construction, to where we're in contact with that customer. That's something that we've educated and trained our builders to do. It happens in various aspects, but we are working more to get that to be every time. Every time you sell a house, we should be reaching out to the customer and starting the expectations. Okay, expectation building, whether anywhere in the real estate market, is the biggest thing, right? If you walk in and you say this house is going to be perfect, well, perfect is a very broad term, right? And I've never built a perfect house, and I've built over 500 houses. I've never walked in a perfect house. There's always something that can happen, that will happen, or that's just not perfect for you, but might be nicer for me. Like, everybody has a preference, right? So that term we change, right? And we start that up front, and we want to start having the conversations. You're going to see things in your house. They're not going to be the same as your neighbors. You know, that tree that's in your house isn't part of the tree that built the other house, right? So there's going to be changes and stuff as far as we go through the process. You're going to see things that are different in your house than somebody else's house, and so we're building your house. And so, you know, obviously, if something that really bothers you, we want you to tell us, but we're also going to try to set those expectations as we're walking through the house. You know, whether you buy the house at the very beginning or buy it at the very end, we need to set expectations through there and throughout the process. My goal as a construction manager, when I was directly with every customer, was I wanted you to feel the positive energy through your house every time we walk through your house. I'm going to talk good about your house. We're going to talk about all the great things that are going on. We're going to educate you on your house. And then if you see a problem, I want you to point it out. I'm not specifically walking your house and pointing out all the problems. I know they're there. I'm working on them, and I'm fixing them, and my guys are trained to do the same. But the second we start going down that road, it never ends.
Yeah.
It doesn't end the day you close. It doesn't end the time you decide to sell your house. You always know those things. Okay, so we change those expectations. We change how you walk into the house. We want you to walk in, and we want you to love your house. And if there's a problem, if you guys as real estate agents see something that's just gonna, you know, I always try to prep my customers. If I had a hole cut behind that picture there, the picture's off the wall, the hole's there, you see it. But before we walk in the door, hey, just so you know, I had a problem, I cut a hole in the wall, it will be fixed before we get to the next meeting. Even if it's the day before closing, it's gonna be fixed. Okay, I want your confidence in me that I'm gonna make you a nice house that is livable, that is strong, and it's gonna last the test of time, but it's not gonna be perfect. So we're you know, we gotta do better on our paints and our finishes. That's okay. We understand that every house is that way. But structurally, mechanically, I want the house to be perfect. And so that stuff I can control in a better fashion, and it's everything behind the drywall. So, right, we talked about stages of construction. There's 13 stages of construction. So when the house gets released, we call that an M00. When we get to stage 1, that's when we are pinning and prepping the foundation and putting the plumbing in the ground. When we get to stage 2, we have poured the foundation. At that stage, our construction managers are meant to walk the property, walk the slab. We're checking for cracks and imperfections and stuff that may be going on already with the property. At stage 3, we're dropping lumber, starting to frame the house. Stage 3 to stage 4, which would be completion of framing, is somewhere between 5 and 15 days. And then at stage 4, we're starting roughs on your house. We're putting plumbing in the ground, or plumbing in the walls, electrical, HVAC, and we're going down that part of that process. Now that can be a short time or it can be a long time. At the end of COVID, I guess COVID's still going on, but at the end of the high peak of COVID, okay, it was taking us about 240 days to build a house. Okay. Pre-COVID, even during COVID, I was still building a house in 75 days and moving the customer in between day 90 and day 100. Okay. But then once manufacturing slowed down, once the trades started getting sick and started struggling to work, those days extended and we went to about 240-day averages across the whole company. There's still areas like Raleigh that are still above 200 days on their build cycles. Now, currently, we are about 160 days. Is the houses we're closing today is where they're kind of hitting the marker at. We expect to be about 120 days in the next 60 days. Okay. I don't know if we'll be back down below 90 days this year. And the reason I say that is HVAC had a major manufacturing change due to code changes. And so they had to stop producing and start producing new. And so now we are prioritizing what houses get what units when they get them based off of closings so that we don't delay things. But there is a delay on air handlers and condenser units. And so we're hoping they are caught up by March 1st, but that's always TBD.
And that's like across the board. That's not just with your supplier.
Correct. That is everybody's.
Yeah.
And so we're literally buying every unit from every supplier that we can touch that works with, like if we already have the air handler in the attic and it's Carrier, well, Carrier can also connect to a Lennox Exterior, a Bryant, there's another brand, and then obviously a Carrier. And so if it can coexist and everything's going to work well, we're buying it because we're trying to not delay those closings. And so in order to kind of buy us a little more time and keep things moving. When we had window crisis, it literally stopped construction because we couldn't start the inside of the house without having windows in the house. And so that was a real struggle. But right now, all those things are going well. We're not having fixture issues. We're not having those kind of material issues. Undergrounds for basically if it's a Duke Power neighborhood, then we're going to have power undergrounds and transformer issues. They're saying they're starting to get better. Adair Woods is one of my next neighborhoods. They've already started the underground utilities, but I asked them about transformers, and that's a TBD. But
That's what you were talking about.
yeah. So it's great to have the power undergrounds there, but we can't turn anything on until the transformer's set.
Yeah.
So you guys will see this year more models running off of generators than you've ever seen, probably ever in construction, because we're going to get them up and we're going to put people in them and we're going to help you guys sell houses. And then we're working on the other stuff on the back end. We're meeting with their engineers. We're putting a lot of things and a lot of money in the ground or help them buy or whatever it is to get the roadblocks out of the way.
It's not COVID.
So, right, those things, we can have a finished house sitting there. And we do. We have finished houses sitting there with no power. And we have one neighborhood and the houses sat with no power for over 150 days. So you're talking, we built the houses in less than 120 days. They look great. But we got no power. Can't put sod down because we ain't got no power. Because as soon as we do that, they're just gonna rip it all up. And so nearly half a year, or more than half a year, we're waiting, and we're finally starting to close houses on it.
What's the delay?
It was power.
No, yeah, I know, but like, what are they saying, why are they delayed?
So I mean, anywhere from they can't get the wire, so right, wire production is down, to transformers. A lot of transformers from out of Texas. They also had a code change, which affected a little bit of their stuff, but mostly it's just down to production. They can't get it. Now you have other smaller municipalities that they've said, you know, D.R. Horton's building this community. We know we need 20 transformers, and they ordered 20 transformers the second it came, and they've just got them sitting in a yard. But Duke doesn't work that way, and so we're seeing more of the problem with Duke than we are with like Gaston County, who has their own utility company. So it just depends. So we got that. So basically M4, M5, we're putting a roof on the house. M5's all the rust starting. That can typically, in a perfect schedule, all the rusts are completed in under 7 days, 7 business days. We're inspecting from 7 to 10 days. Hopefully everything passes, everything, you know, we're not having to chase anything down at that point. And then we're going into a framing inspection on the house. Now, you know, that can vary. We can be perfect. We're perfect in a lot of counties. And then other counties we struggle with the inspectors themselves. And so like, Skyberg here is in Mecklenburg County. We call an inspection and they don't show up for 3 days. So you kind of play the game of the frame, everybody's almost done. Let me go ahead and call it in because I'm just praying that we're 100% the day he decides to show up and hope he doesn't show up a day early while we're still working on something, right? So, you know, we gamble a little bit. You know, you guys gambled a little last night. We gambled, you know, to try to pass those inspections. And it's not that the house isn't ready to go. It's just, you know, you're trying to gamble a system that you don't know when they're going to show up. We got other counties like, so Adair Woods will be in Concord, so Cabarrus County. They'll show up next day. I got Mike as a mechanical inspector. He's in the neighborhood by 6:30 every morning, and is out of the neighborhood at 8:30. So I know, even if I got to put one nail plate on next to the electrical thing, I better do it before I leave because he'll beat me to the neighborhood every night. And then our building inspector out there, he's next day too, but he usually shows up at 10 o'clock. So, you know, if I got to put electrical or put plans in the house, I'm going to be putting them in the next morning right before he gets there. And so, you know, we're trying to reach out, build those relationships with our inspectors because we just want to know who's coming in and out of the houses, what they expect, you know, and make sure that everybody's jiving and having a good time. So we finished that frame inspection, MO6. We are starting drywall. That, you know, right as we're in that frame inspection and stuff's going on, we're reaching out to you guys, we're reaching out to the buyers. Usually it comes in a weekly update, but we're saying, hey, you know, be targeting, you know, to have an inspector if you want an inspector, but we need to do a pre-drywall. Our goal in the pre-drywall is to walk a buyer through and show them everything behind the house or behind the walls. The goal there is I want them to take pictures because it does no good for me to take pictures or you guys to take pictures. You know, 3 years, 4 years down the road when they want to move a wall or something's going on, take pictures of their house. It is so much easier to find problems or you know, change something. Like I've had numerous homeowners in this floor plan and other floor plans put like wine cellars under their stairs. But we don't plan for that. So there's electrical wires, there might be plumbing in there. Like, I mean, there's stuff going on. So right, like if they're in there taking pictures of that stuff, then they know what the inside of their house looks like. Okay. Additionally, like if they're going to add outdoor patio and stuff like that, if they want to tap into electrical and stuff, knowing where everything is, like, you know, we have standards in which we're going to put stuff around the house, but they may want to add stuff like that. And so we always tell them, you know, more pictures the better. You know, take pictures of your house throughout the whole process. And there's sometimes where I've had a problem with a house, and I call the buyer and I'm like, hey, I'm kind of running into a problem. Do you have a picture of X bedroom ceiling? And they'll send it to me. And instead of me cutting a hole over here because the guy forgot to cut out the light or the smoke detector, I need to be cutting a hole on the other side of the room. and it just saves me a lot of headache in doing something. And so that just kind of makes things a little bit better for them. So M6 to M7, we're putting drywall in the house. It's about 14 days at this point. And that's whether it's cold or hot outside, it's running about 14 days. And then we're putting cabinets in the house. That's when the house really comes together. We're putting siding up, cabinets go in, the next day trim follows, and then we start painting. So literally in about 5 days, you go from an unfinished looking house to nearly a finished looking house because the paint's done, the cabinets are done, like the house is looking good, and then we start putting flooring in the following week. And so we move very quickly through that. That's M7 to M8. In roughly about 10 days, you get nearly a finished looking house. And as long as siding's not having any delays or anything like that, I mean, it all comes together really quick. Now M8, we put the mechanical trades back in there. They start trimming out the house, light fixtures going in, plumbing, everything like that goes in. And at that point, we are pretty much finishing the house. Undergrounds are in, we're ordering landscape, we're trying to get ready for inspections. And most of our customers are really excited. And that's when all the, when are we gonna close happens. We used to not do it, but now we're doing it. Customers are gonna start getting an email 45 to 60 days before we expect to close. And all it says is, hey, in the next 45 to 60 days, you will probably get a closing letter, or we will be closing on your house. Now that doesn't mean the next day they couldn't get a notification saying, hey, we're closing on your house, like, and it's 3 weeks out. But what it's saying is like we're getting close. So just make sure like you're not going to be out of town for the next 2 months. And we do have some buyers that do that to us. They go out of town for 2 and 3 months at a time, and so we have to be careful of that. And usually, if sales and construction are already talking to them, that email doesn't come as a surprise. Yeah. They're not surprised that, hey, we're getting towards the end of the project, and that we should be getting the closing. And usually people will tell us like, hey, I'm going back, west for a month, and it's the month of June. Okay, great, go. Your house isn't going to be ready for you, or we'll make sure we're ready in May. So M8, trim out the house. M9, we put the carpet in the house. We clean the house. Like, we're pretty much finished. Landscaping's going in, and we're doing a lot of inspections. At that point, our builders now are putting a punch list together. Now they're always putting a punch list together, but that's when we let the customer know, hey, we're punching your house. We are actively looking at everything that's not done or not working, and we're trying to get through it. Now, currently, with the state of power, we might be at that stage, but we still might not have power undergrounds in the yard of the house. And so at that point, the house kind of stalls. We're still trying to punch it out, but I can't tell you if the electrical's working or if I'm missing something. Like it gets a little bit hairy right there. But if everything's clean and everything's on the house, we're going to keep trucking forward. And so then he mentioned M12. That's RQI, or quality assurance or quality inspection. You'll hear it multiple ways. And so what that is, we pay a third-party company to come in. Our houses, they check to see if everything's working. They're really fine-tuning what the builder should have been doing through his punch process. Okay. On top of that, I've trained all my builders that the second you get that list from them, not only are you sending the punch out, but you walk right back into the house with blue tape, and you blue tape again, because the painters now have come back and done final paint. Now we blue taped. Let's go ahead and put up more blue tape, because by the time you guys get there at M13 and we're ready to close the house, the goal is we're not doing blue tape. And it's not that we aren't going to put blue tape up, because there's a whole process behind that. But again, when we change the thought process of our customer and we're selling them this beautiful house, because it is a beautiful house, the last thing I want to do is be like, that's imperfect. That's imperfect. Because what happens is they hang a picture and they make it imperfect too. So let's just not do that. Let's, if we walk in and the tape looks bad, just tell me the tape looks bad. And when you walk out, I'm going to go back. Not only am I going to put blue tape there, but I'm probably going to do it a couple other places. Because I'll tell you, and I never lie, I put blue tape up 3 times in the same spot, and I'm still wearing out the painter because they just take it. So I don't assume that we're perfect. but bringing a customer into that atmosphere and just being like, all right, let's put polka dots everywhere. Every time they walk into the house, that's what it becomes. And so if we stop doing that and we start just saying, hey, look, I'm here to take care of you. I'm going to make it right. And when we get to closing day, we're going to walk through and this house is going to be beautiful. There's still going to be imperfections, but hopefully we've got 99% of it, okay? And then at that point, you know, we're walking with you guys on the first walk and with them. If they have an inspection report, we're talking about the inspection report and we're addressing any issues that have that to get that done. 7 days later, we've already sent the painters through, we sent the cleaners through. Anybody else that may have an item on the list is now coming out to the house. And then we're walking you guys the day. I like it the day before closing. Some other builders like it the day of closing. But I like it the day before because at that point, it takes a little bit of the stress off my buyer because they're thinking about moving. They're thinking about signing contracts. Like, right? Like, I want to be the least of their worries. I want them to walk in and just love their home. And so, again, we have to be better in order for them to love their home. You know, and that starts at the beginning. You know, we build that relationship with them, and we're working on our builders. You know, we still have some rough edges with some of the guys, but they get better, and they do a pretty good job. Most of our guys are pretty good with their customers. And then ultimately that comes down to we move them in. I come back 14 days later. Hey, what's going on with the house? We're not there again to talk about imperfections because I've found the more I haven't done blue tape and I've just taken care of the house before they moved in, usually I come back and I'm like, got a doorknob that's loose. I'm like, well, hey, let me show you how to fix this because it's going to happen again. The most used doorknob in the house is probably going to have to get tightened up at least once a year. You know? So, you know, it may be that. I always ask them, hey, let's look under your sinks. Because now that you're using plumbing and you're running hot and cold through it and stuff like that, stuff loosens up. Let's make sure everything's tight. You know, are we having any problems? You know, like I'm not gonna sit there and be like, are your floors squeaking? You know, this, that, and that. Like they may call that out and we'll address that. But like if we go around like, right, these are floating floors. If you never put any furniture in here, it's always gonna feel like it's floating because there's no weight on the floor. We put furniture in here, we put carpet down, like the sound doesn't travel the same way as if it's empty. And so, you know, we want our customers to live in our homes, and that's the ultimate goal. And I just built a neighborhood, Heritage Ridge, with 3 builders, and we would go in 14 days. We'd go in and check on them at 45 days, which isn't even like something we do. They would just invite us in for tea. And we walk in and there's no furniture downstairs. You guys live here? Oh yeah, furniture's back ordered or whatever, right? Like, it's been crazy in all the industries. But right, we want them to get in, we want them to use their home, we want to know if there's problems. You know, that's why we have a 1-year warranty, that's why we have a 10-year warranty. But we come back at 14 days because we want to get the things that are hot. You know, if you got hot water running through a toilet, I want to fix it. If the sink is dripping, I want to fix it. If the doorknob's loose, I want to fix it. We want the house to be functioning the way it's supposed to. And we want, and then a lot of times we'll talk about warranty, talk about, hey, remember you got to change your filters. Like, we're just trying to touch base with them. Like, we're not trying to run from them. We got your money, see you later. Like, that's not what our guys are there to do. And most of our guys are in the neighborhood from beginning to end. It very, very rarely changes, unless we're having a problem. And so we got those things.
I know what you're thinking.
I'm thinking.
Can I have Brian build all my houses and your house? No. The answer's no.
No, you know what I'm thinking? Everybody take out a piece of paper and a pen. What is an M6? Pop quiz time.
Don't worry, I send an email and it lists them all.
Okay.
No, but I mean,
I don't know. It's a drywall.
Drywall.
But guys, like ultimately, we want our customers to understand like we are building a great product, right? And I have to remind my builders, right? Like the market did something this past year that nobody ever expected to happen, right? Like we're like Heritage Ridge, every house sold over list price by $100K. So right, like that house that was spec'd out, and it was spec'd out beautifully for 500 or 450, selling at 550 at 650. You're like, oh, like, you know, I got to make sure my paint's good. I got to make sure my moldings are good. I got to make sure we do good tile work. You know, those are the things that we have to expect. And we don't mind people calling us out, but if our guys are doing what they're supposed to do, we should know before they walk through the door. You know, a lot of times I will sit at that island with my customer, and you know, Jacob's really good at this, and he'll walk the house before they come in, or he's already been working on his punch list. He's like, hey, there's 3 items I haven't got to or the guy hasn't showed up for. So we're gonna walk this whole house, but understand you're already gonna see these. Because I don't want you to have the surprise. I don't want you to walk into a closet and be like, where's all my shelving? You know, those are things we should know about and be able to call out.
What if you're paying that much more, it's inevitably to be expected, your expectations go up, right?
Yeah,
I mean, it's just
absolutely.
like it happens, and then you have to somehow moderate it back down.
Well, but right, like we sell an express product.
Oh, yeah.
You
that's
know,
what I was
back when I started with Horton, express housing went from like 155 to maybe 225 with a stretch. There's no crown molding, you know. The baseboards and stuff are smaller. The flooring's different.
saying.
all
8
that
foot
kind of
ceiling.
stuff. Yeah, 8-foot ceilings. You know, it's different. It's not a DR Horton or it's not the Horton product that everybody kind of recognizes. And now we got express houses this past year that went for, you know, 450, 500. And that's where the market drove it. Now, granted, the market's kind of coming back to a neutralized spot, and we're going to start seeing those express products closer to be between 300 and 375. And that's good, but are still, even myself buying that house, I have an expectation, you know? And so what I can't change the materials, but I can make sure the installs are good. I can make sure the paint's good. You know, it's flat paint, you know, me leaning on the walls, there's fingerprints on the wall, that's terrible stuff. You know, I always tell parents when they have kids, I'm like, just don't let them touch the walls. And they're like, what do you mean? And I was like, they're not washable. And they're like, what? I'm serious. I got small kids. But you know, it's real serious because I've had a lady, she called me and she's like, Brian, I know it's not your fault. I can't figure out what's going on with my house. Okay. A little weird, but okay, I'll show up. So I go up, she's like, brings me upstairs, and it's the jasmine plant. So it's got a big open railing and a big wall. And there's literally like black marks and then face mark, and literally the kids, it was like one kid getting pushed against the wall and then turning and getting pushed again, and it literally just went down the wall. You might want to paint this house again, you know? And so like we used to give out paint, but now we can't even trust our paint. And that's kind of a weird thing to say. You're like, what are you talking about? So right, we mix paint in 5-gallon buckets and we paint a whole house. And then we mix paint again and paint the whole house. If I handed your cut, if I have extra paint, my guys are usually will just throw it in the attic. But if I don't, I'm not giving them paint. And it's not because I don't want to, but we've had people polka dot their whole house because if you don't apply it right, or if the color's just slightly off, Cheryl Williams has had some issues this year. So there's some stuff like that. So hopefully I answered all your
No,
questions.
you did.
But if
Yeah,
you got any
thank
questions,
you.
just let me know.
Thank you.
Very
I have a couple of questions.
Sure.
Okay, great.
So, pre-pandemic, right?
Yeah.
Tell me, like, what's the rationale behind different builders having different build times? Because I know that
Like us between like Pulte or Ryan and
Right.
stuff like that.
or True Homes.
Yeah,
or
it comes down to our trade base and how we run our schedules.
okay.
So we run a 5-day schedule. Some builders run 6 days, so they'll run Saturday. We don't run Saturdays or Sundays. Now we have trades. We recognize they work on those days, but we don't require them to work on those days.
Okay.
So on that too, and it depends on municipality too, right? Like somebody in that county is going to build slower than somebody in Iredell County. So it literally could be Horton, and you're going to run slower in Met County. And it's just the way they do their inspection process. Coming out every 3 days drives everybody nuts.
Yeah.
Gaston County just got harder because they combine their city and their county inspection office. And so a builder, so like let's say us and Ryan are in the same neighborhood down there.
Mhm.
they will only show up, or you only get 2 inspections per neighborhood, per trade. So if me at Horton and somebody at Ryan is both calling for plumbing inspections, and I need 5 and he needs 1, whoever gets them in there first, they're only coming for 2.
Oh, wow.
And so, right, you just, like, that just duplicates and extends how fast you're gonna get stuff. And that was the craziest change we've had this year, where it's literally like, yep, you get 2 inspections each day for, blah, blah, blah. Oh, hopefully it's just us and we can control it, but right, we don't really talk to Ryan and say, hey, how many plumbing inspections you guys call? So like we have different build schedules for that. We have different products, right? Some people do like SIP or structural walls that are pre-built and they're putting them together, so that may be faster or slower for them. We do complete OSB on all of our products. There was a short time last year when nobody could get OSB that we didn't, but for the most part, every neighborhood you drive into, you're going to see our guys putting OSB up. So we don't use Oxboard, we don't use the foam board, we don't. There's a bunch of different products, but we don't use any of that. So sometimes that can be slower or faster, just depending on what's going on. But for the most part, I think in an ideal market, most builders will try to run to where they start to finish a house between 90 and 100 days. We just, like, our guys are incentivized to build fast. And so, there was a time when I was building Lake Walk up in Mooresville, and I could build a Freedom house in 65 days. And it was literally, we pour the slab, the next day lumber drops. Within 2 days of the lumber dropping, I had trusses and roof on the house. The next day, I could put all the plumbers in the house and the electricians and the HVAC guys, and literally be in drywall in almost a 2.5 week period. And that blows people's mind, but there was nothing wrong with the construction. The construction was just perfectly planned, and the trades were there to work. But if any of those guys call for delay, then that pushes those cycles out and stuff like that. And you got, like, I think it's Lennar, that like they account for rain days. So like we expect our guys to show up if it's raining. Like they just go ahead and cancel the schedules and push them out a day. So that stuff like that does change.
All right.
Well, yeah.
The other question I had was appraisals. So how does that, because I still don't understand. If you have a dirt lot and someone's going through financing, how is that appraisal done without a structure?
It's not.
Well, you're speaking to True Homes, I'm sure. So True,
I have had a True Homes that was
they want that
to
loan.
be built.
Yeah, they want it buttoned up front before they're ever going to finance and build the house.
Yeah,
Totally, we're financing everything here.
gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I get what you're saying.
Yeah.
So like True Homes, KB Homes, like they don't put inventory on there. Literally, they sell it, then they start, which is why they want all that financing and everything buttoned up early on. And so there's some weird requirements that they have to basically like hand over all the selections of the house, like that stuff. For us, like, I mean, most of our appraisers come through like the week of closing.
Okay.
Very seldom do we get some weird ones that come back where they're like low.
Okay, that was gonna be my question. Yeah.
Yeah, and it just depends on market. Like Heritage, the first, I want to say 5 houses were kind of a struggle, but it was because everybody offered so much over asking. But then kind of once all those went through, I mean, the way we did Heritage was you had to show, or you to sign your contract, you had to provide whatever overage you were at that point.
Right.
And so if you were 100K over, you were putting 100K down because we assumed the mortgage wasn't going to cover that 100.
Right.
That you were over. And so that kind of cleaned up that mess a little bit. But then once the first couple houses started closing, it was 2 days.
Y'all aren't doing the best and highest. And do you anticipate?
We don't.
That happening
I
again.
mean, the market has definitely picked up the last 2 weeks. We as sales agents don't preferably like it, right? It's harder, it's painful, all that.
Yeah.
We don't don't see it getting to that, but I mean, with all these shortages he's speaking of, which are real for other builders as well as us, I mean, it could. I mean, this spring market is going to be very, very interesting to see. It could get to that. We don't necessarily like it, but we'll see how the market goes. Is what I'd say.
I mean, and it really, like, Heritage was a specific neighborhood and ran the way it did because of, it literally came down to, we knew how fast the houses were gonna get built, so we're less than a year for 84 houses. The school district that it was in, so, you know, being in Concord, you were feeding W.R. Odell, sought after school district. And so they were like, we're gonna give this a try. And like, we had 900 people on the wait list for the neighborhood before opening the neighborhood. So that's where it was like, I don't know how you do this fairly, so they felt like that was the fair. But right, like we're doing the DARE, we're not doing that, but they've already got, I think, 200 people kind of wanting. I mean, they were just saying it a couple minutes ago, is that they've already had somebody say, I want this lot because it faces this direction, and I'll give you 35 over asking. And it's like, we don't even know what the pricing is yet. You know, like, so it all just depends. You know? There will be, there'll be a lot of premiums. Yeah, there usually always is.
You
Like in here, you
got a premium lot too. You got a nice lot.
Yeah, and here you got a lot, in Skybrook, we had a lot of, or higher, a lot of premiums. But I mean, that's the other thing, right? We talk about land development. Land development's gone through the roof. I was doing some numbers Monday or Tuesday when I was getting ready to sit down with our VP. And neighborhoods where we're paying $80K for a quarter acre.
Oh.
And we got neighborhoods we're paying $150K for a quarter acre.
I mean, people don't.
I say quarter acre lightly, right? It's like 0.18, 0.20, like those are the numbers we're getting for that price. And so when you look at that, that's a little scary because back pre-COVID, our average lot cost was between 30 and 90, and 90 was like high. But now, I mean, like when people are like, "Oh, it's not flat," or "It's," we know, like, but you know, you're buying land where you can get land at this point. I mean, Adair Woods has been under development for 4 years.
Yeah.
I was supposed to be the original builder in there, and now I'm up in management in the company. So it's been a different road for that kind of stuff.
So, a couple of questions.
Sure, absolutely.
So, I want to ask about what you were talking about. The two questions I had that you mentioned through the process. So, is it normal, or do you guys see that a client through the phases of inspection brings their own inspector with them?
It depends.
No, we always, as realtors, we're always
Gonna recommend.
recommending
Yes.
that third party inspector.
Yeah, realtor-wise, yes. We'll see a lot of recommendations. Buyer-wise, it depends on the community, is what we found. Okay. Our more ethnic buyers will always have an inspector. It doesn't matter. Like they're coming, and they actually pay a lot higher than a lot of everybody else, which is kind of weird because inspections are the same. I would say if I was going to do an inspection, pre-drywall is the time to do it. At the final of the house, there may be one or two things that pop up, but very seldom are there. A lot of times we look at that final list and we're like, this guy's doing a cosmetic list on the house. Like, you paid $500 for that? Sorry, but that, you know, to me, that's a waste of the customer's money. And again, that's to their preference, to however they feel in the process and however. And again, right, if I've done my job really well and I've made you comfortable and shown you everything that I possibly can show you in the house, like you should feel like you know how the house works. But a lot of times some people are using, I've seen a lot of people this last year, they're using that inspector to tell them how the house works. And then they have a meeting with us and they're like, oh, why did I spend that money? But at pre-drywall, I think that's probably the best time. You know, because that's where, again, an inspector, all they can do is point out things that look unusual. Is probably the best thing, right? They're not licensed engineers. They're going to put out things that look abnormal to them, or you know, different. And so, you know, again, those are just things that we need to address. And so we have no problem with that. So that, again, that's just comparing the customers.
No, that's fine. And then the other one, so is it on the contract, or is it just a preference that the customer be here at closing? Because, you know, normal real estate transactions is, sometimes they're not.
So they have to be, or let me put it this way. They should be at closing for the orientation and for the final. Okay? They can do mailaways, and we have waivers, but if they're doing waivers, then they're usually having you guys sign saying the house is good. And so that comes down to your comfort level.
Okay, I just want to know, it almost sounded like, being had, like, you know.
I would say 9 times out of 10, you have a happy customer when they're there. Because otherwise, even though you're done, got your check and stuff, they're gonna call you, and then you're gonna call me, or they're gonna call you, and because they found something, you know, it's rather, we just have that meeting, it's better for our guys. We actually got one going on in here right now, where the husband and the realtor are set to come to the meeting, and the wife's in somewhere out of town, but she doesn't wanna come, but she's the hard customer. And we're like, we want you here. And she's like, I don't understand, you know, like, if I have to come, we have to push it a whole month. Well, we can't push closing, but we really want you here because drywall was just rough. Like, she just asked questions that the 2 other people didn't ask. And we want to make sure she feels comfortable.
Okay, not to cut this short,
Sorry.
but thank you so much. Okay, so because we only have 15 more minutes, Chris is going to take us through as if we are the agents and we are representing our buyers, and he's gonna, as he would show our clients and us the house, he's gonna take us through, okay, for the tour. Yay, the moment of truth.
Yay,
Let's do it. Let's start with the front door now.
I forgot to get this one.
Oh, for real?
We did every room but this one.
Oh, we took all the chairs.
It's okay.
What they just like we just showing the house, but I know we're making a lot of assumptions here, right? But obviously,
I wasn't in it, right?
Okay.
Okay.
We try to veto the hard claim.
I may not even add this in here, but I'm just gonna put it in there.
Coming back through?
Okay, oh, sorry.
We talked about the Skyway doorbell that comes with all of our homes, even the Express collection. We have a QS panel, Echo Dots, and Home is Connected. So we're paying for that Home is Connected for 3 years. So that's all included in all of our homes, essentially. All right, in we go. All the molding you see in these homes is included. It's 5 1/4 base molding. This is chair rail picture frame molding in the foyer, 2-piece crown molding in the dining room, office in this case, and foyer, as well as the dining room. It's a luxury vinyl plank made by Mohawk called Revwood. Been a very, very successful product for us. Very durable. It is floating. So to Brian's point, it's not glued down. A lot of builders will glue it down. It's been popping up, but this is floating. We seem to have better success with it.
Y'all missed the first part of the conversation. I'll be there.
Again, more chair rail wainscoting, giving it a more formal effect to the dining space here in the house. This one has the black finish fixtures as far as the plumbing, light fixtures and hardware. That's something we also will put in some of the inventory homes. We do double oven. Sometimes we'll do an oven combo, microwave combo, if you will. The fridge is typically not included. We have on homes that are not far along, we'll add the fridge. This is a really neat feature. Come on in here. I'll show you a little more about this. So, and this is cool. You can scan this and it'll show you more about the same smart home and all that. But essentially, these are Daco switches. This is a company we actually own some stock in. This will be a motion detector. You get up in the middle of the night, go to the restroom. This will turn on the light automatically. This will be for a dimmer switch. But these switches in general are like a rocker type switch, more of a custom home type product. They're included in all of our homes. And very user-friendly, like I can switch it out to a dimmer indoor motion detector myself as well. And I'm no licensed electrician. This is we usually do granite a lot of times. This is a quartz product. It's called Carrera Marble, one of our most popular. Gas we have in a lot of our homes. We will also do electric. We do heat pumps. We do gas furnace. It just depends on the neighborhood as far as that goes. Covered porch. So our covered porch price is pretty inexpensive. Sometimes, like on this particular house, we added it for I think it was maybe 12 to 14 grand, and then we did a paver patio with the fireplace as an option. So that's an outdoor living option that we do offer in our upper end series, not so much on the lower end product line. Window blinds. So a lot of times, like in our express collection, which is like, what do I got to buy? So in those homes, the really only thing we try to put blinds in a lot of them as an option. So the only thing the consumer would have to buy would be a refrigerator, washer, dryer, and they're in. Everything else is there. All the appliances, the garage door opener, any window blinds.
Chris, are we able to negotiate washer and dryer, refrigerator?
Not so much.
And tell us why.
It's just, well, number one, we had a lot of supply issues with them, number one. Number two, you may even get a better price than us outside. We used to get better pricing and all that, and some people want it, and the only thing I would say, some people do want it to match. They want the fixtures to match, right, the appliances. But if it's beyond or before a stage 5, I believe, we can add it in certain neighborhoods. So there is a choice.
I know some builders where it's like, we're not even touching it because if there's a supply chain issue, we can't close on it,
Right.
but it's part of contract.
Yeah, and then you'd be waiting in,
For refrigerator,
that's right.
for washer and dryer.
Fireplace, I mean, we're in Charlotte, North Carolina, it gets cold as it used to, but we still include it in a lot of our series, even in our express, we do sometimes. It's a direct vent gas log, so half the heat is going out the back, and then it's radiating heat out here. It would operate should the power go off, so that's a nice feature of that particular unit. If the heat power was out, you would have some level of heating source in there. This particular model features a 3-car, features also a bedroom and bath down. It has an option to do a game room, which we'll see above the dining room and study space. But this gray mod, I don't know what it sold here, we're probably going to be in that 530, 560 range in the vineyards where I'll be heading to here in the next month or two. But it's a 3-car, and that's definitely a big driver of this particular house. We'll head upstairs. All right, so hardwood stairs, talk about that real quick. So this is site finish. So this is a very laborsome, very time-consuming process. We come in here and sand, they stain it, they put a coat of polyurethane on it. We're going away from that because of the timing. So we'll probably do something where we put this laminate material on the stairs to try to not only make it match better, because it matches pretty decent now because our guys do stain it to where they try to match it, but it's going to be a little better. It's going to improve timing. And then people who do buy a house that has carpet, they're like, man, I really wanted hardwood stairs. They can do that change themselves, not as hard as doing something like this, which would require ripping basically all the stair treads out. Nice use of space in this particular floor plan. These LED lights is what we've gone to throughout the houses. They are very efficient. You actually, if one went out, you just replace the whole fixture, but it should last longer than your typical bulb. Most of the rooms, and in this case, a little different lighting, but most of them would be pre-wired probably in the center here for a fan. So if you did want to change it out, you could change this brace for a fan. Has a several electrical switch for a fan as well. We don't put the screens on the model. They do come with screens. It's typically a sash. A sash is usually made up of 2 sashes for a window. This bottom sash moves, tilts out. You bring it up, you grab these 2 little ears. Boom. Very easy to clean. The little blue reflective material is a low E coating on there. And just very easy to change. And then you just take it, boom. Just like that.
Very nice.
And then the owner's retreat upstairs.
So you said this is considered a bedroom, though, right?
Well, it's a game room option on this plan. Probably has about 7,500, but it adds a lot more square footage because it'd be a 2-story area that we don't see as many people going with lately. So you do watch the dryer in this house, laundry. We had these washer dryers here.
And as you can see, those are just regular Whirlpool washer and dryers, so you may have some bougie people who want Samsung, front load, top loads, whatever, so they're just gonna give you the basic washer dryer. Huh? Yeah.
The whole backside of the house. We always get clients asking, hey, you can paint a house like this? No. But we can sometimes track the paint codes down, and people choose to try to replicate the model. We try to help if that is something we can help with in some form or fashion. We did add, it's like 4 can lights, and this one is what we did here. All the window casing is included. I didn't even realize until you brought it up. Like all right, so you got closets upon closets in here, right? The ladies should love this. I mean, hers and hers, and he can just do whatever. Yeah. He's like, yeah.
Yeah, I like that idea.
The frame mirrors is another new option we do too, which is
Okay.
very cute.
I love it. Sorry. I'm sorry, Kelly.
Three German shepherds.
Yeah. They were, one was at,
Yeah, Aria. So she's not so. We'll be bringing her into the office.
I'm a child.
Okay, in a second.
But you do that stairs. Inspection. Do this for getting up there if you need to.
Almost done. It's funny. Oh, you go in? Yeah, look at the shower. That's funny. Yeah. The two super Four, but that's a game. Four, that would be a bed. That could be a bed. He's got a closet. Yeah. Right.
Then the one next door is Isabella's like 40.
How many bathrooms?
4,300. I think it's like 4.
It has four. One in there, 2, 3, 4 downstairs.
It is.
4 bathrooms in this one, right?
Correct. One down, full, and 3 full up. This one has its own bath, which is nice. I know, yeah. This one's shared by these 2 baths here, or 2 bedrooms.
It could be 6.
It really could be 6, yeah, yeah.
So Chris, you said that, is this an upgrade, the black?
It is an upgrade, and usually it's throughout, so it's the hardware and the lights, because
Okay.
the plumbing too. We're trying
Yeah.
to get it all synced up.
Yeah.
So, yeah, we would know, looking at like the inventory being built, does it have that option or not? Just to
Okay.
try to find that out.
Okay.
But our designer's doing a lot of that, and it's good stuff.
Yeah.
It really is. I like the way it looks too.
It's not
Yeah.
even 30s.
Looks
Brush nick is
more,
still,
yeah, it looks more high end.
it does, yeah.
Yeah.
And more on contemporary, more on trend.
Right.
Yeah.
What's the square footage on this? Is it
Just shy of 3,600, about 3,589.
These are nice sized rooms too.
Mm-hmm.
You said 3,600?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
What's the minimum price ranges?
So, you know,
It depends on the.
it does, it really does. I mean, we got some higher end homes. The vineyards, I'm gonna guess and say we're gonna be 440s, 450s, somewhere in there for maybe 2,400 square feet, and then go up from there.
Got it, okay.
It's always tough. I mean, to Brian's point, we get these people who are on these interest lists, and we have this first to know, and you can always email me, but sometimes we don't know because nobody's told us. We have a range in our mind, and we just don't know. It's just hard because people are like, I'm interested, but we don't know what the price is. So it's kind of like, I want to buy the car. How much is it? I don't know. I don't know if I want to buy it.
Okay, we're going back on downstairs.
Downstairs it is. Some have 2 units. I've verified
Oh, it's
this.
just little-
This one
little
has
thing.
30 set up. Most all our 2-story homes are going to be dual zone regardless. I know your house is 2 units.
Yeah, we have 2 units.
Yeah, so it's
We'll
separate.
never buy a house again without 2 units.
Well, some are very efficient with one. I think it is.
Yeah, this one's gotta be.
I always have to look outside. It's like a tipping point of sorts.
What is the square foot on this?
Just shy of 36, 35, 89.
Oh.
Okay, so one question, if
Yes.
any, do we have?
Y'all are skilled to sell all these DR Horton homes now, right? Yes. All right, good answer.
Drop zone. Closet, sign it. Downstairs.
Home purchasing position. But Brian has been doing it, he does it throughout the entire United States.
It'd be nice, you got a little teenager, need a little privacy, their own little space.
All right, guys. I know that this was a longer than usual episode, but wanted to bring you guys all this great information. So for everyone that was able to tune in, you got a chance to hear a lot. If you guys have any specific questions for me, for Chris, for Brian, that we heard from today, don't hesitate to reach out to me, 704-965-1702. You can shoot me a text or send me an email. All of my information was strolling below. So I hope that you guys have a great weekend. I'll probably try to work on cutting down this stream so that it's in separate bite-sized pieces so that I can post at a later time. So again, y'all have a great week, whoever you're cheering for on Sunday wins. You enjoy, the halftime show that's going to be happening, as well as all the different commercials that they have out. So, all right, you guys have a great one. All right, bye.